highly conducive for entrepreneurs and businesses. There's an opportunity which exists for Indian sellers to get their products to the global markets and to do it in a few simple steps. To understand this opportunity better from an investor's perspective, we are very delighted to have with us here today Anjali Bansal. Anjali Bansal is the founder of Avaana Capital, which invests in and provides scaling up support to innovation led startups for catalyzing impact at scale while delivering commercial returns. Anjali has invested in and mentored various successful startups, including Delivery, Urban Clap, Darwinbox, Nika, and Lenskart. She's closely associated with Niti Aayog's Women Entrepreneurship Platform, Digital Solutions, and mentor to the Atal Innovation Mission. Anjali is the formal non-executive chairperson of Dena Bank, appointed by the Government of India to steer the resolution of the stressed bank, eventually leading to merger with Bank of Baroda. She was earlier a global partner and managing director with TPG Growth PE, responsible for India, Southeast Asia, Africa, and Middle East. She started her career as a strategy consultant with McKinsey & Co. in New York. Welcome to the forum, Anjali. We are so happy to have you here with us today.
Thank you, Sinchita. I'm delighted to be here. And very importantly, I'm a long-standing Thai Charter member. So it is wonderful to be back here with the Thai family.
Awesome. Great. So let's get started, Anjali. We can't wait to ask you a bunch of questions, right? So firstly, I want to ask you, Anjali, you've been a big believer in entrepreneurship, right? But how have you really seen the whole entrepreneurial ecosystem evolve over the last 6 to 8 years? What has essentially changed?
It's a great question, Sinchita. I think there's so much change that has taken place in India, period, and particularly in sort of the world of entrepreneurship in the last 20 years. So if I go back to, say, 2000, it was something that was kind of fringe and very niche, and you had to be a true sort of maverick to do something entrepreneurial versus taking a nice job at a McKinsey & Company, right? So what has changed in the last 6, 7, 8 years is entrepreneurship is an absolutely legitimate career option. And we are seeing a lot of young people either join startups in jobs or just quit their jobs and say, I'm going to create something new and innovative. So that's one. The quality of people, the number of people who are taking entrepreneurship as a career option. The second is availability of capital. There is a lot more capital available today to support entrepreneurial journeys at every stage. So you have now organized angel groups, there is seed funding, Series A, Series B, the venture funds are here. And interestingly, now late stage growth funds are also here. So there's a lot more capital that's available. And third is the kind of change taking place in our macro system. So the emergence of folks like Amazon and your support for entrepreneurs and micro entrepreneurs, and government initiatives to create the digital infrastructural rails. Take UPI, for example. So the kind of fintech models that are being built today could not have been possible 5 years ago in the absence of India Stack and Aadhaar-based KYC and UPI. So a lot has changed in entrepreneurship, but I think the time has never been better to leverage and harness the power of entrepreneurship, new ideas and innovation, and apply it to solving some of our biggest problems at scale.
Thanks, Anjali. I think you put it up really well, highlighted all the aspects, and I think all the entrepreneurs here are listening, right? So also, I want to get into the topic now, Anjali, since you're talking about building global businesses, and we've seen many Indian brands make it big in global marketplaces, right? So I want to ask you, what is the kind of potential that specifically Indian businesses have, and how can they harness it fully?
So let me break it up into 2 or 3 pieces, right? So one is we've had long-standing Indian brands. Tata Group has many global brands. There's Tata Tea, Tetley, Jaguar Land Rover, etc. So you can build global businesses even if they're not necessarily first generation and so on. I think we have a lot of consumer product companies that also have global brands like, say, Americo. More recently, I think I would let me split it into 2. There are technology or enterprise SaaS type companies where the big markets are really global. And then there are consumer companies, much like what Meghna has and Ashish and so on. And you may start with India and your consumer product brand may be more relevant for India, but it can be expanded into adjacent markets and eventually into global markets. Where we are seeing actually a lot of opportunity already. Not just potential, but immediate opportunity is in enterprise technology and enterprise SaaS. We have seen very successful companies, Freshdesk, Postman, Zolo, and some of the younger ones like Darwinbox and Vimo and so on actually start with an India base, but very quickly be able to go global.
Great, great. Thank you. Thank you for highlighting the key sectors as well, Anjali. Now I want to ask you a very interesting question, which I am like really interested to know, So you have invested in startups which have got the unicorn status today, right? So how do you look at companies to see if they have the unicorn potential? What are the key signs to look out for? I'm sure, even investors want to really listen to this perspective from you.
See, we only know the ones who make it big. We don't know the ones who don't make it big. Uh, but I first and foremost want to say I think we have to respect all entrepreneurs, whether they become unicorns or not, because it is very, very hard to be an entrepreneur, and it takes enormous amounts of courage and hard work and commitment. So I want to appreciate all entrepreneurs, whether unicorn or not. Um, I wish I could say that I knew then that they would be unicorns. I just knew that they are aiming to solve a problem which is a big problem. So there's a large addressable market. It is a big problem to be solved. And these are very smart, very committed, terrific people. So ultimately, at that stage, you take a bet on what's the kind of problem and the total market, and then the entrepreneurs themselves. And they say, yes, they'll figure it out. Even if this is not the first model that they start with, they'll evolve. And all of them have evolved their business models. But basically, they'll figure it out and they'll execute really well. And
Great. No,
execution is multiple things, right? Execution is not just doing it all yourself, building a great team, building the right technology, raising the right capital. A lot of that has to come together.
No, absolutely. Thanks for, bringing that perspective that we must respect all entrepreneurs. I can't agree more. It's the hardest job in the world, right? Thanks for that, Anjali. My next question to you is, what would your personal advice be, to entrepreneurs who've joined the discussion today and, who are probably looking to create global brands and, sell their made in India products throughout the world? So what would your advice be there?
So first and foremost, think hard about why you want to do this. I've said this before, entrepreneurship is really hard. By the way, it's also very exciting, which is why so many of us choose to be entrepreneurs. So there's a lot of excitement. When you're building a global brand, think about what market are you solving for first. If you're truly solving for the US market, then design a product and a go-to market that addresses the US market. If you're starting with the India market, then your product has to first get your POC, your proof of concept here, your product market fit has to work, your business model has to work in the Indian context. So very different ways that you build first for the world versus building first for India. A lot of companies have done the build for India and then export to the world. Absolutely fine. You can do that as well. And there are others who have said, we are fundamentally a tech product. Our market is not in India, so we are actually going to build for export. And in which case you build those POCs with global customers, you build a global team, you create your sales team, and you create early alliances that help you access those markets as well. And similarly, who you raise capital from also becomes an important decision. And I would urge you to make it a thoughtful, proactive decision versus a reactive default. Think about funds and investors who can help you access markets and access clients in addition to giving you money. So for example, if you want to go to Southeast Asia, then a fund that has a Southeast Asia presence, that has helped other businesses build in Southeast Asia is useful. Whereas if you're building a core consumer product for India, then people who understand the Indian consumer market, who know what the brand journey is, can help you build that, along with providing you capital. That is more important.
Thanks, Anjali. I think the key message is, to think it through, and that's something which even we've heard. We also tell the business that we work with, right? Sometimes it's just not aligned, and it's just as an experiment. So thanks for that. Okay, I'm coming to the last question, and I want to talk about challenges. No entrepreneurship journey is without any challenges, right? So, and one challenge which all entrepreneurs face today is access to capital. You've spoken about it before, today itself. But in the VC sector, right? Anjali, how do you see that panning out? How has it changed?
I think there's a lot of capital available actually today. There's more capital than before. the pace of Series A funding has actually accelerated during COVID lockdown. And there is even more enthusiasm for digital first models. So as an entrepreneur, if you are in your first proof of concept phase, get to market quickly, get something going, raise a little bit of capital from friends and family, from angels, um, is what I would suggest. From the VC point of view, I think it's hard work being a VC these days, because the best investments, the best entrepreneurs, the best deals are very competitive. So it's actually a great time to be an entrepreneur. See, I
Thanks.
can see Ashish and Meghna smiling there. Because you see, they've had to turn away a lot of investors who wanted to invest, and they said, sorry, no more room.
I think that's an interesting conversation to have. We should have
Yeah.
this from that perspective. We should have a session specifically on that perspective also. So
but tell
thank
me,
you,
is there something
Anjali.
specific around access to capital that is useful for our entrepreneurs on the in the session today? And I can address that.
I think you've made, you've given us the bigger picture here. I think, I mean, I did not know that during the COVID-19 pandemic, like more avenues have opened up. So I think it answers the broader question, and we have certain specific questions which have come in as well, and we can, get to that.
Great. Okay.
So thank you, Anjali. I think it was indeed, a short, a burst of enlightenment session with you here today. We have some audience question, like I said, and we've taken out two of those today. Like we had more than 60 questions which actually came in for this session. So let me just ask you the two most interesting ones from there, right? So the first one is from Meghna Joshi. She's the founder of Swan Livelihood, who wants to ask you, what is the right stage to start thinking about getting investors on board?
I think from the time you start thinking about doing your startup, because capital is a critical raw material for building any business, not just a startup, but for building any business. And so along with what product, what market, what team, you should start thinking about capital. And be thoughtful along with your business plan, be thoughtful about a capital plan. How much money will you need, for what, and when? And what kind of money? Is it equity? Is it debt? For most startups, debt funding is not available. Although, by the way, I think it is important to mention here, there is a lot of initiative being taken by the industry as well as the government to create debt funding schemes for startups as well that do not require collateral and have different requirements, and they're willing to lend to not profit-making enterprises without collateral, but with a different kind of criteria. So think about how much money you need, for what is your use of funds, and when do you need it? And start raising money almost a year before you need the money. So if you're starting your business, then obviously you're going to start with a seed capital that you're self-funding or you've raised from friends and family. But very quickly think about either organized platforms like Let's Venture, Angel List. There are various angel networks now, and there are angel syndicates that are becoming active. Or if you have enough money to see you through, then go straight into a sort of a seed or an institutional Series A round.
I hope that answers your question, Meghna. I have one last question for you,
Sure.
Anjali. So, this is from Virendra Malu. He's the founder of Sharad Technologies, and this is an interesting one. Is a reference to meet with investors really a must?
It helps. It does help because investors get so much inbound that if it is coming through a trusted reference or a source or a friend or somebody in the network, it does kind of give you a bit of a leg up. So yes, if you can find a warm lead is better than a cold lead.
Makes sense. I hope that answers your question, Virendra. So thank you for joining us today, Anjali. I think, you've answered our questions so in such a crisp and clear manner. I think it gives us, a very good picture from your perspective. Thank you for sharing those rich insights. I'm sure it was very helpful for our audience here.
And thank you for having me. I'm a big fan of Amazon. I'm a loyal customer. I'm Amazon Prime member for a long time. Of all your products. Big fan of what Meghna is doing. I've known her for a while. And Ashish, great to get to meet you. And I wish we had your products when my children were younger. And all the best to all the entrepreneurs on this session today. And Ty, as always, thank you. And wonderful to be together with Ty. I'll take your leave.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Anjali. So, with that, we'll move on to the next segment of our session, and I will introduce our distinguished panel. So, we have with us here today Mary Gabriel, Director, Marketplace Expansion, Middle East and North Africa Marketplace. Mary leads the global selling program for the Middle East and North Africa region, empowering local entrepreneurs to sell globally. She also leads the 3P business for Saudi Arabia, which is the largest marketplace in Middle East and North Africa. As the Chief Commercial Officer at Souk.com, she led the regional retail initiatives across categories. Throughout her 25-year-long career, she has worked across FMCG, entertainment, and online shopping. She's been recognized as a young Arab leader and has also been nominated for Arabic Woman for US Exchange. Welcome to the panel, Mary. We are so happy to have you here with us today.
Thank you so much. I'm delighted and I'm honored. Thank you so much for having me.
Our next panelist is Meghna Narayan. She is the co-founder of Slurp Farm. Meghna is passionate about early childhood nutrition. She's committed to make a positive change to the health of children and families around the world by introducing traditional Indian grains to the global plate. Before starting Slurp Farm, Meghna led the public health practice at McKinsey and Company. She holds an MBA from Harvard Business School, a BA in computation as a Rhodes Scholar at Oxford University, and a BE with distinction in computer engineering from Bangalore University. Meghna was also a national level swimmer for India for many years. She's won over 400 national gold medals and has represented India at the Asian Games. Welcome to the panel, Meghna.
Happy to be here.
Our third panelist is Ashish Ajmera, who is a co-founder of Jack in the Box Toys. He started this company along with his co-founder and wife, Mudita Todi, with a vision to build India's first global toy brand. Jack in the Box Toys was born out of a simple yet powerful insight that children are addicted to their gadgets purely because the non digital toys available are not engaging enough. Today, Jack in the Box has delighted thousands of customers across 14 countries. A proudly woman run company, it supports 30 plus women from underprivileged backgrounds. Ashish, an alumnus of the Indian School of Business, Hyderabad, is a passionate entrepreneur. He loves evaluating and discussing business plans. Prior to this, Ashish has over 6 years of experience donning various hats at reputed companies such as Accenture, Bharti Airtel, and A Mitra, which is a funded startup. Welcome to the panel, Ashish. Very happy to have you here.
Happy to be here with such accomplished women. I've, I'm a proud customer of Slurp Farm, so Meghna, really nice to meet you. Very nice to meet you too. Thank you.
All right. So let's get started, with the perspective that Anjali gave us. I think I'm, getting into this discussion with a lot of excitement because I have a lot of questions which I'm hoping to get answers to, and so is our audience. So let me start with you, Mary. Today we're talking about entrepreneurs and how they can build global businesses. Having been an entrepreneur yourself, right? How have things changed for you from your early days to now working for Amazon, which also, by the way, started just 25 years ago as a startup? Do you think more opportunities have opened up for entrepreneurs today?
Sure. So first of all, I just want to say that I think I was born an entrepreneur. So in my early days, I was brought up in Nigeria, and I started my first business when I was 2 years old. I used to take the peanuts and wrap them on my own and go to the street and sell them, and that's really an entrepreneur. But then since then, I moved on to do my own chocolate bar restaurant, and take Lush Cosmetics into the Middle East until I guess I started the real proper entrepreneurial, company with Souk.com. And that's like more than 11 years ago, and we started in a literally very small office, which was also the fulfillment center and also the warehouse. Everything was that in that office, and we were all clubbed together. And the spirit of us creating something new, because really what we were creating was online business. We were educating not only the customers but also the brands of why they should sell online. What does online mean? And that passion. And when every time we would go to a brand, whatever that brand is, like Samsung, and they would throw us out of the office, and we would come back and it's like, okay, you know what, we're going to get this brand, we're going to get other brands. And I think that's really this entrepreneurial spirit that makes you nonstop go and go back and fight more and make it happen. And I think the key thing, the key difference here was that every time we would encounter a problem, here is where your entrepreneurial spirit comes. It's like, you know what? Well, let's solve it. Let's create a payment solution. Let's create an ecosystem of delivery. Oh, we only have cash on delivery. Okay, no problem. Let's create a cash on delivery company for the Middle East. Oh, well, you know what? No one heard of online. Oh, well, no problem. Let's create a huge event and call it White Friday in our region so people can know what about online is. So, literally, I feel that an entrepreneur is not necessarily just about starting your own business, but it's also every single step of the way as you are in this business of how you constantly solve the problems by creating and innovating and scaling. And I think the big challenges that we faced as entrepreneurs was, do we have money to pay our staff at the end of the month? Literally, that's really like, in our mind, when we went on road shows to raise funds, that was really our concern. Is like, do we have enough money till the end? Do we have enough money to pay our drivers, to pay and so forth? And that set of learning and that growth scale is just unprecedented and unbelievable. And then now fast moving, we kept that even within Amazon. I mean, yes, we are Amazon now, but I think we've kept that scrappiness. So at Amazon, we call it, being scrappy. And every time we're bombarded by a problem, it's like, okay, put your, entrepreneur hat on and let's solve it and let's make it happen. And that's just great. That spirit is great. So all of you there, entrepreneurs, you've got something in you that no one else has, and you should cherish it and make it happen and make it big. That's the key thing.
Great, thanks. Thanks for that, Mary. I could see some vigorous nodding from Meghna and Ashish as you spoke about your experience. So thanks for that. All right, I'm going to move on to you, Meghna. You started a brand, focused on mothers and kids, along with your friend and also a mother, Shorvi Malik. Tell us a little bit more about your journey.
Uh, Thanks, firstly, for having us. Really nice to hear your story as well. I'm very excited to hear your story as well, Ashish. So, looking forward to that. I think, it starts always with what is the problem that you wanted to solve, right? And for us, I used to run McKinsey's public health practice. The numbers were the numbers were very clear, right? And not just in India. Of course, in India, 1 out of every 4 children is either malnourished or undernourished or obese. In the UAE, it's 1 out of every sort of 3 kids is sort of obese, right? So I can sort of go country by country. The statistics are clear. The science is clear in terms of we have forgotten how to feed ourselves and our children. So something somewhere has gone wrong with our food systems, and that requires change. I think for both Shorvi and me, we had always wanted to do something together. This felt like, if you're going to go and quit our jobs which we were quite happy in, it has to be a problem that's worth grabbing 2 hands with and then fighting for over a decade, 2 decades, right? So this felt like a problem worth solving. And we're very much, I would say, in the beginning of this was building products for India and for that Indian mother, right? And the answers lay sort of very much in our own grandmother's kitchens and so on. So we make a lot of porridges, with traditional grains that, like you said in your introduction of me, with basically with millets, right? So these are really, really healthy grains that are not only good for us, they're good for the farmer, good for the planet, and really, it in the context that we're living in, and we've just sort of seen the first, in some ways, intergenerational event, right? Was nothing short of that. We need solutions like this, which are going to sort of help reverse some of the damage we've done to the planet. And for us, Slurrp was very much about that as well. So taking these grains, which are just so good, for the entire sort of world, to the rest of the world as well. I think that was the intention. It's been 4 years. We started our journey with Amazon very much. I think Amazon grocery was just starting in India. it was outstanding, right? Like I think even a decade ago, it was impossible as an FMCG brand to have national distribution on day zero. And Amazon afforded us that. Since then, there have been other online players, and we have sort of, I would say, ridden that wave very much so. Shoravi was based out of London. She chose to sort of move to the UAE because I would say, while we were building for India, the ambition was always to build a global brand out of India. This generation of entrepreneurs is not going to export commodities and import products. We're going to export brands, right? And we very much want to be that, part of that revolution.
Great, great. Thanks, Meghna. I did not know the stats, are the way you stated. So definitely a big problem that you're solving here. All right. I'm going to come to you now, Ashish. You and your wife, Mudita, are partners and founders for Jack in the Box Toys, right? So can you tell us a little bit more about how the partnership at work is? Who is responsible for what?
So I'll just give a quick introduction about what we do. So, like Meghna said, it feels like people have forgotten to eat. We encountered a similar problem, and we said, have people forgotten how to play? Because we saw kids around us, my nephew, niece, always addicted to the iPad or any all the other gadgets. And we said, this is not how we used to play. Like we used to have a lot more hands-on play, and the touch and feel experience in today's play is missing. That's when we decided that we should do something about this problem and come up with toys that can give that sensory experience to children, but at today's attention span, which is typically very low because of the increased usage of gadgets. So that's what Jack in the Box is all about. It started a few months only after our wedding. She was in between jobs. She had just quit Google, and she was looking for something that is creatively satisfying. Whereas I had just wound up a failed business, and I was looking for another idea that hopefully would not fail. And then we both realized that we have very complementary skills. While she's great at creative and product design aspects, I'm good at the business side of things. And so that's when we decided to join hands. For a company like ours, which is in the toy space and typically arts and crafts, the product design is the soul of the company, because a typical product has a life cycle of about 2 to 3 years. So it's all about turning out the next new creative toy. So she pretty much holds the soul and the core of the company, while all the other departments are evolving around it. Uh, and she comes up with her creative designs, and it's my job to take it to as many people as possible. And that's where Amazon has really helped us reach out to different platforms and so easily. uh, and apart from that, I want to bring in this point as well. So recently somebody on Women's Day asked me that, like, what's the biggest value addition? And I say that, Mudita brings in a lot of EQ into the business, a lot of emotional intelligence. We all know now that what differentiates great leaders from good ones is the emotional intelligence. And there were many a times where I'm pulling out my hair in frustration dealing with the vendor or my employees, and she would come in and give me some EQ based solution on it, and that has really rubbed off on me to a point that now it's showing amazing results in our customer relationships, our vendor relationships, our employee morale and productivity. So yeah, that's how we are handling.
Great. Thanks for that, Ashish. And it's very interesting whenever you introduce your company. It's though it's led by you and Mudita, it's always introduced as a woman-led company. So that's great to, get that perspective from you. And the EQ angle, yeah, I think that's a very interesting point that you've gotten here as well. So thanks for that. So I'm going to come back to you, Mary, now, to understand that how is Amazon working with entrepreneurs to build global businesses?
Sure. I mean, as you probably everyone knows that the Amazon overall globally, it was in many of the shareholders' reports, more than 65% comes from our sellers. And for me, every seller is in reality an entrepreneur. Right, so he's someone who started his own business, and the business could be have created your own brands like Meghna and Ashish, and it's inspiring hearing, listening to you. I think I'm gonna quit Amazon and go start my own business right now. That's what I'm gonna do. um, no, but in reality, all of our sellers base are entrepreneurs, and our job at Amazon is to actually enable these entrepreneurs to grow. So what we do is we offer them everything so that they don't need to think of, okay, what is the distribution channel, how do I export, how do I import, how do I send my product, do I need to have my own FC, do I have, like, all of the problems. We remove it from the entrepreneur so that they are focused on really creating and solving our customers problem as we see. So and that's really our job. So the beauty of Amazon is that we're technology, right? So we provide you tools and tools at a scale that will take you from this small level to a global level in one go without additional capital upfront investment. And hence the ROI of investing into becoming that entrepreneur on Amazon is huge, and it's really removing all of the different frictions. But also more importantly, and particularly for this panel, is that as you create your product, and I think it's important going back to, is this product for India only, or is this product for a global product? And if it is for a global product, I mean, Amazon we're launching very, very soon a product that's called, you register once and you sell on Amazon globally. And that's the beauty. So you don't have to really worry about anything. It's just that you need to come up with that right product, and you need to decide whether is this something for India only, and it could be just for India, but there's a lot of people who want those Indian products, like we in the Middle East, because Bollywood is so big, we aspire for the Indian. We want, Amitabh Bachchan here. So there is no harm if you're creating a product only for India, that as it is would go globally. But then, because you've got such a high skills and manufacturing creativity in India, I mean, like when I came, I'm inspired and impressed, then you could absolutely create products for the entire world. And Amazon role is removing all of those frictions so that it enables you as just a creative person to easily grow. And to the extent that obviously we also have our own lending program, and this entire initiative that you guys are running by choosing the best ideas, choosing the best entrepreneurs, and even giving them even more seed fund, let's say, so that they can start their own business.
Thanks, Mary, for summarizing that. I think I was just thinking of a new tagline, in fact, like Amazon inspiring creativity while we take care of everything else. So that's yeah, that's a good one. Thanks for that, Mary. I'm going to come to you now, Meghna. You recently took your brand to global markets, right? Like Slurp Farm has gone international. Can you talk a little bit more about digital first brands and your experience of going international with Amazon?
So I think I'm going to split that into two pieces, right? Digital first and then going international. So I think we weren't digital first. While we did launch on Amazon, in India, we had decided to go both online and offline because we felt a food brand should be available at the local store. And that anyway felt like a 10-year hike. So we said, the quicker we start, the better it is, right? And then, of course, COVID happens, and that sort of the whole strategy got we relooked at it. And thanks to that relook, it grew we've grown 3 times in 2020 and decided to go global, right? Because life's not sequential. Opportunities come and we decided to sort of grab that with both hands. I think the key here is it's really hard to build a global one product, right? Even McDonald's, when they came to India and they made a tandoori burger, right? Because your sort of, I mean, the beef burger was not going to work in this country, right? So, we have actually looked at we have 25 products in our portfolio. Mothers feed their children differently in different cultural contexts, right? So there are some products that will work, like pancakes, for example, will sort of slide right into whether it's the UAE or the UK and so on. And the only difference is that, of course, instead of being made with a wheat or or oats, this thing's made with millets, and that's a whole sort of there's that value addition. And then there are other products which in India we market as sort of wheat-free, maida-free, trans-fat-free, but they also happen to be gluten-free and vegan, which sort of in the Indian market is not so deeply this thing, but those are, so it's the same product, just marketed differently in different countries. So I think you have to figure out, which of your products you can take, and the ones that you're taking, almost like each market requires you to sort of there's no secret, right? You have to do the work for each market separately, and to make sure that you are what the customer is looking for, right? What Amazon gives you is that ability to, when people search for certain things, you should show up. So you've got to make sure that your sort of product is checking the boxes for the consumer. So I think for us, I wouldn't say we perfected it by any means. We're very much in the start of that journey, where we're looking at market by market, which are the products we take. Should we build new products for some, and we're very much in in that mode as well. Of there are certain products that we might not launch in India, at least not immediately, but we launch in the UK, right? And what of that is transferable to the US? That's a whole different sort of party in its own way. So almost look at it market by market. What is the problem you're solving for the consumer in that market?
Great. I hope all the entrepreneurs here who want to go global are listening. I think these are words of wisdom. All the best to you, Meghna, for the journey that you've started. I'm going to come to you now, Ashish. We know that Jack in the Box is, it's already selling in so many countries, 14 plus countries, right? And in the process is also enabling social impact, in terms of creating jobs for women. Can you share how exports has opened up business opportunities for you and how it translates into downstream impact?
So, we are a proudly women-run company. About 90% of our workforce is women. Uh, we have tie-ups with a lot of NGOs where they help us rehabilitate women, especially from domestic abuse backgrounds, and we feel really satisfied when we are able to give them a source of income and rehabilitate them. Uh, in terms of so yeah, we do a lot of programs with these women as well, like workshops, uh, very basic things like how do you invest your money, how do you open a bank account, how do you create an FD, uh, how can you insure yourself, medical insurance, life insurance, etc. These are very basic things which you'd be surprised that the penetration with the workforce is near to zero. So we do regular workshops, and the thing about empowering or educating women is that you're educating the entire family along with, because you have this influence on the child. When you are teaching a woman how to open a bank account, that knowledge is going to get transferred on to their kids, or you teach them the value of saving into a bank account, that knowledge is going to get transferred on to their kids. In terms of downstream impact, when we started out, everything, literally 99% of the Indian toy market used to be imports from China. So there was no ecosystem present here. No raw materials, no job work vendors, nothing. But Mudita and I had, since the start, we've been very stubborn about making 100% made in India product. And because of that, we had to work with a lot of vendors. Sit at their factories for hours together, train them how they can make products which are export worthy. And bit by bit, like Mary said, the capability is there. It's just that no one had told them that you need to make a certain standard of product that is export worthy. And when they got exposed to that, the vendors responded really well. And I can tell you proudly, today there are a lot of vendors who are independently exporting. So that gives us a lot of pride. Of course, being 100% made in India product, all the foreign remittance that comes into our company stays within the country. So that's also something we're very proud of.
Great, great. I think it's really inspiring to, see the kind of social impact that your company is building as well, and to see this perspective. I think it's. I hope it's inspiring the other entrepreneurs here online with us today as well. So thanks for that, Ashish. So I'm going to come to you and ask you, the last question here, Mary. So what do you, according to you, what do you think is the opportunity that exists for Indian sellers today in global markets?
I mean, the key opportunity is that the Indian sellers have products that we all want globally. And as evidence that just the India to UAE arc and now recently India to Saudi arc has been actually one of the most successful arcs that we have. And we have a great team in India that's sitting, I mean, obviously led by you guys, and who advise our sellers on what is the product that they should sell, how do they sell it, what format is it on FBA or is it just purely MFN, because it does make a difference. What is the right pricing? How do they promote it? What are the right events? So you've got someone who's sitting there to help you and to assist you to make your product fit perfectly. And maybe the product that you sell to Saudi, which is like, I don't know, hair, because they've got long black hair, is different than the product, you'll send to the US, and so forth. But you've got that team that has all of the data that can help you to tailor make where and what to send and in what format to send it. And I mean, again, I go back to the Indian products are not only liked by the Indian communities that live everywhere around the world, but also I personally use a lot of beauty products from our Indian sellers that are selling here in the UAE, and I love it and it's inspiring. So the product is extremely appealing. I think the other key advantage of Indian product is the pricing. The value is there. The pricing for money is there. The other one that we see that's a big difference is the language. I mean, when we go to China, although they're great as well, entrepreneurs in China, unbelievable opportunity, but language is a big barrier. And we don't see that barrier in India. You guys are super smart, super well educated, and everyone speaks better English than anyone else. So I think that's another big opportunity that you have in India. And then the fourth is I feel that overall in India, the ecosystem, the government, Amazon in India, all of these are really supporting and encouraging that level of creativity and the industry itself. And that's an unbelievable opportunity. And we learn from you and we see how we can take what India is doing and we can replicate in other marketplaces. So definitely you are leading the world in that aspect, and we just want more and more Indian products on Amazon globally.
Mary, I'm sending my co-founder Shorvi to meet you.
Yes,
She's in Dubai right
absolutely.
now.
Yes, please do. Yes, absolutely. I would love to do that. I would love to meet her. I know she said she's here, and I would love to meet her and get to know her.
Thank you, Mary, for summarizing that. Again, I hope everyone's listening about the opportunity that Mary has spoken about. Thank you for that, Mary. I'm going to quickly, come to the last question for you, Meghna, and ask you that how important is it really to have the right partner slash mentor slash network, in the journey of building a business?
I mean, sort of that's a question that you've answered almost in the question, right? It's absolutely 1000% important. Both, I think, it's really nice to have a co-founder in the journey. Some people choose to marry them, but Shorvi and I are not married to each other, but she's like my sister, right? Like we spend more, actually we spend more time with each other than our spouses right now. So sort of between Zoom calls and sort of team calls. um, I think it's, entrepreneurship is very hard, right? And both, the journey in itself, it's a long one, it's a marathon. And it's always, it's like why you get married, right? Is because you or find a partner to sort of live life with, because it's more fun with someone else. And, we're very different. But, it has made this journey, both the highs and the lows, better because I have her with me on it. And not just her, right? I think our team, right, that we're sort of building as we go along. There's some people who have been with us right from the beginning, and it's absolutely wonderful, right? It's family, to be honest. In terms of mentors, right? That's, I'm not a 20-year-old starting a business. I've had a full sort of career, right, at McKinsey. And sort of between sort of the journey of Slurp Farm and both our professional networks, there is almost never a case where there is a problem that not I mostly I don't know the answer, but I know who can help me solve it, right? And what I have found is, what is wonderful is that people are so open with their advice and help, that really it has been humbling through this journey. And I always, when people try to reach out to me on LinkedIn or whatever, I'm always trying to help, because I feel so many people have helped me. It's my job to pay it forward. So absolutely, I think so whether these are long-term mentors for your business, or people who give you sporadic advice, I would say take time to both give and receive.
Thanks for that, Meghna. Pay it forward. That's a good one, actually. Yeah. All right. Coming to you, Ashish, the last question to you. So how are you thinking about expanding your workforce, and how important is it, to have a happy workforce?
So, firstly, to Meghna's point of marrying the co-founder, I would like to tell her that when people ask me how is it, I say it's like living with your boss 24/7. So, no, but on a serious note, I think it worked out for both of us, as we had really clear demarcations in terms of what we do.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, coming to your question. So we are expanding our workforce, almost doubling our workforce year on year. And what I think is very important is empowering your people right down to the your labor workforce, right? So I'll explain in terms of an example. I think that would be better. You know, so our toy has a lot of small moving parts, and it gets packed at different steps. So typically 90 to 100 small moving parts, and the chances of some, and it's all manually packed. So the chances of an error, a human error, is high. And we did a lot of things to try and reduce the defect rate. Put 3 levels of QA, etc., all of that, and it helped, but only to a point. And then we came out with something very interesting. So on a large screen, what we started doing was we started reading out our Amazon reviews to our workforce, uh, the bad ones, good ones, everything, and said, and then we read it out saying, when some customer said, hey, I didn't get this particular piece, and then suddenly, the workforce starts thinking that, okay, my contribution is very trivial. I'm just putting this one piece into this box. But now suddenly they're thinking that, oh my God, it makes such a vast difference and it makes such a big impact that, the customer is getting, my company's, the name for my company or the brand name is getting affected. And suddenly you see a different sense of ownership in them, right? And believe you me, in a matter of about 2 or 3 months, we saw the defect rate going, almost halving. So that made a huge impact. So I think empowerment to down to that level is very, very important. Um, of course, apart from that, we have R&R, and we have Navratri dances and things like that to keep our workforce motivated.
Great. That's a very interesting one, Ashish. I think, here at Amazon, we didn't know that, our reviews are also, leading to this kind of an empowerment. So that's definitely very innovative. So thank you for
It's a
that.
great idea.
So thank you to all the panelists, for sharing this perspective with us today, and the audience here today. I would now like to open the forum for questions, and I'm cognizant of the time. We have certain questions selected, from the questions which came in. We had like more than 70 questions which had come in, and we're going to quickly wrap it up so that we wrap it up in the next 5 minutes. I'm going to ask one question from the audience. So the first one's to you, Mary. It's an interesting one. It's from Avinash Saraf. He's the founder of Zendition. He's asking, how can exporting be made as easy as opening a bank account?
It's actually as easy as in a bank account. So that's an interesting analogy. So if you come to think about it, when you go to the bank to open a bank account, you register your name. You just need your certificates, right? Whether it be your passport or your ID or whatever, so that we know that this is who you are. And that's literally all what it takes for you to register on our Global Seller Central. Literally, your name and your trade certificate or your ID, depending whether you're registering as an individual or a business. And then you meet in the bank with your account manager. And that's also what you could do. You can meet with your account manager, literally, who would then advise you on, what type of bank account you need to open. Is it FBA or MFN? So very, very similar. How much capital do you need to put in your bank account? So open it with a minimum of X, and that would be, that's the amount of inventory that you should put at the beginning, or that's the amount of selection or products that you would put. So extremely, extremely similar to that. And then you start actually transacting with the bank, right? So the bank will take it on your behalf. They would do everything. They would invest in different things, and then you get an interest back, and you are able to withdraw that cash on the spot. And that's, again, as a seller, you've got your bank account. We have ACCS, which is our own internal exchange rate company. So if you're selling in the US or you're selling in the UAE, we will do the exchange on your behalf. You don't need, so the bank is doing the forex for you. And then you can withdraw your funds anytime you want. You've got your card, you go on Seller Central, you take your revenue at any point of time, and we take a tiny, tiny commission fee. So it's literally actually a bank account. That's a very interesting, and hopefully you'll become richer. I know, just to tell you, so Eric Brossard is the leading of the international marketplace for Amazon, and he always says one thing only. He's like, you know what? You go to a seller and say you can be rich today with Amazon, and that's true, right? Like you can be rich today with Amazon, and so your bank account manager will always tell you, put this money in our bank and you'll be rich, and that's really the real story. You can only be, I believe that you can only really be very rich with Amazon.
Thanks for that, Mary. I think beautifully put. Like everything had an analogy. Like when the question came in, I was like, okay, maybe a tough one, but you've handled it like a pro. Thanks for that. I'm gonna quickly move on to you. Yeah, I think I'm gonna ask this to you, Ashish. Right. So Deepak Deshpande, he's the CHRO and senior VP of Entity Net Magic. He's asking a rather broad question. It says, what are the fundamental shifts that have taken place in the entrepreneurial world due to COVID-19?
I would just like to add to the previous question that I think it was Avinash, right? From the time I decided, and this is in 2017, from the time I decided to get on to Amazon Global to the time my products were live on the platform in a US warehouse, it took me only 7 days. Uh, so I think that's faster than opening a bank account. Yes. So coming to COVID-19, I think there are a lot of fundamental shifts that have happened. The smaller ones, if I would name, like we are more comfortable working in a remote environment. That's happened in my company, but to me, the most important change that has happened is that companies and startups have started uh, looking at cash flows very importantly. Cash flow management is extremely important, and with the whole startup euphoria, etc., people generally tend to focus on the top line, bottom line, but they need to equally focus on the cash flows. We all know that most of the companies that went bust during COVID-19 were because they could not handle their cash flows, and the guys who had strong cash flows could really maximize, capitalize once the economies opened up. So that to me has been the one of the biggest fundamental changes.
Thanks for that, Ashish. Okay, the last question, I think we'll wrap it up in the next 2 minutes, is to you, Meghna. It's from Umesh Uttam Chandani. He's the director of Dev Accelerator Private Limited. He's asking, how do you maintain a common product line across different countries?
So we don't is the answer. I mean, yes, there are some products that are transferable if you wish across the world, but they're all marketed differently depending on the market. Not all products that are built for India can go global, and that's all right. The way an Indian mother feeds her baby is slightly different. I think to try and create a product that's sort of global. I mean, then we're not making a phone, I guess. So
Got it. So the short answer is you don't. So thanks for that, Meghna. So I think with that, we come to the end of this panel discussion. I would again like to thank all our panelists here today. Mary, Ashish, Meghna, thank you so much for joining us today. I indeed enjoyed the conversation. Thank you for your rich and insights which came in from all of you. I would also like to thank the people who joined us digitally. I'm sure everyone in the audience would go away with this panel with a lot of knowledge, insights, and inspiration to go global. So thank you, everyone, and have a great day. Thank you, everyone. See you soon.
So much. Thanks a lot.
thanks,
Thank you.
Sanchita.
Bye.
Bye, Ashish. Bye, Meghna.